had that. And then finally, you would have had an accountability mechanism that was specialist in police. Now the question arises, why should I have an accountability that is specialist in police? I've got the courts, I've got the State Human Rights Commission, I've got the Minorities Commission, I've got the Women's Commission, I've got the courts. The answer to that is, if you have an independent police complaints authority, you have a specialist body that year on year finds patterns of behavior. And I'll give you the example of South Africa. In South Africa, they started off when apartheid ended by completely revamping the police, and one of the things they brought into play was this police complaints authority. The police complaints authority received complaints from the public, but that was the least of it. They also looked at police stations as a station. How many complaints am I getting from your area? How many from your area? How many from your area?
Picked up patterns.
What is the nature of the complaint? So you picked up patterns. When you picked up patterns, you could take it to the supervisor of that place and say, you better improve this. Women are coming and complaining that you are not receiving my complaints. In this area, slum dwellers are saying, slum dwellers are saying X, Y, and Z about you. You are not giving service. Other people were saying, then other things came forward. How can we give good service when we don't have car, when we haven't had training? So all this was then in a report, which was given annually, and it was followed up, and so year on year you had the possibility of improvement.
And did they follow it through?
They did to a certain extent, then not so much, but still, these are ideas. Ideas do get defeated, but at least they have a beginning.
Yes.
Here, everything we create is mangled to death as you create it. And then foolish civil society people like me, we follow it, we monitor it, we RTI it, we waste our time. When the genesis of the thing itself is designed for failure. But even if we don't do that, even if we go another route, we still have to be active in this.
You want to do the Mumbai fact sheet?
Do you want Q&A? Are you tired? Too much? What?
You can just do the rundown of the Mumbai fact sheet to know the ground realities.
And then maybe compare it with the rest of the country. I mean, we want to keep the discussion focused on Maharashtra.
So today we are focusing. Today we are focusing on. That's why we're not colored out because then it becomes too much of data.
Yeah.
But at some stage later on,
Sure.
then we can look at comparisons as we progress. Since the initiation of interactions will continue, so then we can do comparatives in terms of, because when we give too much of data, then sometimes we
No,
get
no,
to
not
mix
a
up.
database thing. I'm saying just maybe a minute or two to give an overview. Because, for example, Manja mentioned that Kerala has been better. But,
That's on the police complaints authority side.
yeah.
Donita? You have this sheet with you actually.
Yeah.
So we will basically talking about the gaps in the policemen. Now what usually happens is whenever we talk to the police leadership, they say we are only an implementing agency. When there are shortfalls, they say we take it up with the government. But we can do only up to this level. The point is, these are things that we need to articulate with the government, which they cannot articulate because they don't have much of a strength. So this is just to give you a highlight in terms of the ground realities, in terms of gaps that are there. The sheets are already visible, we just run it through. What can we do in a situation like this? Just need to pick up your minds and brains. What do we do when we know that there are gaps and the lethargic way of functioning that the government does is how do you articulate to put pressure on them that they must take it seriously? this is not technically a problem with the police leadership. It's a problem with the Home Department to initiate proper actions in terms of budgets and other things put together. So, yeah, Sanjay.
What about, the diversity of the police force?
Yeah, we have that also
That
in
is
that.
also there.
You know, just 4%. Overall, in Maharashtra, it is just 4% minorities.
All minorities.
All minorities, just 4%.
Minorities, you mean not only religious, but even like say SC, ST and all that?
All. Just 4%, and the presence of women, Maharashtra is the highest as compared to it, it's just 12%. So you can imagine 30% is a reservation, which the state had done 20 years back
For women.
for women. Now we have reached a level of 12%, which means the only way, suggestion was made, is the only way if you want to reach that 30% is for the next 5 years or 8 years you have a moratorium except recruiting women police. But the problem they say is, and it's an endemic problem, they say is that they are not in a position to motivate women first of all to apply, because there are no systems made to motivate. The other problem is the cultural problem, because they say if a woman is a police person, then it becomes a difficulty for them to find a life partner. These are practical realities. And the third is from the urban areas, you don't have anybody interested, including the police force. Now in Mumbai, it's 45,000 odd police force, out of which 85% are constabulary, out of which the urban percentage is 0.001. So you have the problem of constables coming in from rural areas, when they're posted here, it's a culture shock. So you have sometimes these elements of moral policing and all. And the language that they use, it's interesting to know that when we talk to the senior leaders, we say, why some of your police guys are uncouth? Well, why do they use odd language? They say that is the language they speak in their native homes, which is true. So when they come here in cities to be posted, it's for them a culture shock, and they use the same terminology what they use in their native place, and people don't. So we say, question is, how do you train them? What is the mechanism to train them? So these are basic indicative difficulties that are there in terms of a situation like this. But I'm coming back to the question is, what do we do, let's say, on having the required 30% women in police? Second is the diversity index of at least having a robust percentage of minorities, including religious minorities, in the police force, which is now at the moment 4%, which is pathetic.
But I think SC is
Segregated separately.
It's not, somebody was asking
Yeah.
that, it's not.
ST doesn't fall in this category. You're talking only of religious.
So SC, there must be a reservation, right?
Yeah,
There is reservation.
And
that is robust, comparatively robust as compared to.
So their seats are being filled.
Yes.
By law. No, because there are many institutions where the law doesn't prevent them from not filling the seat.
No, but you're right, and also by political pressure.
Also.
So we coming back again to the question is, how do we raise the pitch? What do we do? You know, we know for sure that there have been associations for Muslim professionals who have been conducting sessions for the communities in terms of the courses to be done, and one of the drawbacks has been Marathi versus Urdu. So they say, at least because Marathi is a compulsory language,
Yeah.
so they say for our community Marathi becomes a little bit difficult, so why don't you open it up, keep Urdu. So these are things that we need to understand, whether we are in a position to raise this pitch, that if you want people, then you need to segregate it, and how do we reach out to communities to encourage to move into the police force. We cannot get anybody from the Christian community to come into the police force. Not interested.
No, but there may be economic reasons for that.
Why?
They have much better opportunities, so why?
No, that's an illusion. We always take an illusion about the Christian community being very educated, but it is no better than the Muslim community. Let me tell you one thing in terms of empowerment. What's an attitudinal problem?
They would what? They would feel excluded inside the.
Plus the language barriers now. Not comfortable with Marathi, not comfortable with Hindi. Languages they are not interested in learning. I'm talking of cities.
No, but you saying the Christian community
Huh?
you saying the Christian community is not interested to police?
Yeah, because they have some notion about policing.
Block which is there regarding the language barrier.
No, but there are
Only for the language?
community for whom Marathi will not be an issue.
No, but Nell, it's also an attitudinal problem because the community has not encouraged
See, not at the lower rung of the police force. I mean, there are people on the higher level.
Where are they?
No, right now I don't know. because
They're
I'm
not there.
engaged.
They're not there.
I'm not clear the reason which you have given. Alex gives some other reason.
What Alex gave
This
is,
has to be
yeah, share.
backed by research.
The community mindset, atmosphere at home, and their company.
So you're saying, does that add up to, it is seen as being sort of beneath your dignity to be a policeman? Because that may be an issue.
Not necessarily. We have not gone to that particular side at all. We are thinking something different. Our goal is going to Gulf or some other things.
And insulate.
And there
Also
is a
insulate.
But that's an economic incentive, see? Because
Because
if
most of them would be also educated at least up to graduation. So
Yeah.
they may not want to be
Yeah,
in
yeah.
jobs that are seen as low status.
So there are things that are there which, whether we should address these issues in terms of communicating a message to encourage communities to be part of the force or the police force or whatever it is. The question is, that is a thought that we want to just leave it with you. Yes?
Yeah, I think we should separate these issues. I think mixing them up will be bad in terms of, it will also confuse our communication and our strategy. Because the issue of positions lying vacant, I mean, if you see on this sheet, the gap is growing dramatically between sanctioned positions and actually filled positions. Now, this is a larger phenomenon. This is true of courts. That's one of the, according to Shailesh Gandhi, my friend, the RTI activist, he says today in this country that is the biggest barrier to justice.
Across the board.
That there is such a underfilling,
Yeah.
and that there are sanctioned positions. It's not like the money for those positions has not been allocated, and yet the judges' positions are not being filled. So my question to you is that can this issue be addressed in isolation in relation to the police,
No.
or must it be addressed in the totality? Because apparently, again, Shailesh has a figure for it. We have one of the worst ratios, I mean, in terms of it's too small, of people to government personnel in the whole.
It's true.
The US, it's something like 400, people to one person of the population, whatever. I forget the details. And ours is less than half of that, in proportion to the population of the country. So, and ironically, the public impression, at least in the middle classes, there is this completely false impression that, oh, we spend so much of our country's resources on the babu dump. But actually that's not true. We are grossly understaffed at all levels of the governance structure. So I'm sharing a thought and asking a question that how do we formulate a
Strategy.
that highlights the larger problem,
Yes.
and then in that context, the specific reality of the police.
Yeah, Vinay?
No,
Yeah.
because this is pervasive across sectors.
Yeah.
Whether it's in the, in the teaching profession, the
Everything.
healthcare profession, the judiciary. So one has to have a larger strategy
Yeah.
and communication.
And we should also try and get to the bottom of it, because in some situations, is it that the qualified applicants are in short supply? Is that the situation? Or is it that in some cases the jobs have, by social reputation, been made so unattractive or so, they've been, for example, teaching. It's sadly treat it as a menial job in this country. If you are teaching in the states, in this government system, and so then those are issues which only civil society can solve, which is to raise the prestige and the importance and the reputation and value of certain kinds of job. I suspect that is an issue with the police.
Yes, Rachel.
Is one of the requirements for joining the police for women especially, I think health is taken into consideration, right? Health and
It
certain
was,
physical.
until a certain
Right.
point, there were
Right.
physical attributes, the height and all, but now it is not.
Now it has been
Now it has been
discontinued.
scrapped.
Scrapped for women only.
Yeah.
Because there was
No,
opinion
it
because-
is generally
general
because,
now.
Okay.
yeah, because they had,
Fitness.
because of understaffing itself, they knew that the number of applicants would be less.
Because I was looking at it from the point of view of women's health in India. Women themselves don't have access to as much food as men. So maintaining the health requirements or even the stamina for a job as stressful as this might also be one of the reasons. But now that it's not a requirement, I think there are other reasons.
Once you join a team, tennis test is different.
Sorry?
Dalvin,
Yeah.
I'll share my thoughts on this. I think one of the things when you look at society is that this is not looked upon as a career. Because you look at police, it's always negative. Now look at what you're dealing with. You're dealing with crime, you're dealing with mafia, you're dealing with politicians who are in control, you're dealing with a working system which throws you out on the road on bandobast duty. If you look at ladies and others on the road, the police constables, the way they stand, the way they hang around, I mean that's not the job that attracts anybody, given a choice. Okay? So that actually within the police setup also has to change, and within the community, I mean the civilian society itself has to change. Now when you look at this data of shortages and you look at overstaffing of police sub-inspector, it also tells you that even the politicians or anybody in control is looking at somebody who can at least handle something in their areas, and not at constables, who know nothing much about how to handle relationship within the politicians and the others. So that is what is also happening if you really look at it. And even within the setup, there's no real interest in putting constables. When the thing was put up of 52% of the cops on VIP duty, I was just thinking in my mind, why don't you once for all make two separate divisions? One is a force only for VIP and one is for citizen. Then I think it solves the problem. VIP takes care of VIP.
Maybe there's a point there what you raised, because that's an endemic problem.
So I
But
think
in Delhi they did that now, with those black cats and whatnot.
Now we have.
No, I'm talking the same. I'm talking the same force because you are allocated people and resources. So divide it. No, as it is, you don't have, and create something elite in one. At least somebody will go and join. Like Black Cat, the very thing, the way you look at it, the way the positioning has been done. You look at it, you think, good. This could be something.
Good
And-
for black cats, good for the
For people.
politicians.
Uh-huh.
Bad for civil liberties.
Nothing, but it's okay. But what I'm saying is, in corporate life also as well, it's not a 8-hour job. No?
Yeah.
Actually, it is worst. If you are in the upper levels there, you're worst. You're the last to leave. So that's how, what I'm saying
At
is,
least we are.
But
no, you,
the
that,
VIP personals, the training is the same as the common man police.
no, that's fine. What I'm saying is, you need an attraction, a marketing for people to join it. There's no use, we'll all be discussing here, but I think there has to be something coming out, a directive. You are a VIP, you want divide it into two parts so that they don't mix up. At least then the civilians and the citizens get their due with the
Yeah.
cops there.
May I
No, very big
interrupt?
assumption.
Just while I think about it, your intervention brings me to something that I think is very important that we don't think about, which is what is Maharashtra's policing policy? Do you know it?
That's the
Is
more-
there one? Is there a long-term game? Is there a 5-year game? Is there a 3-year game? What is the objective? We are sitting over here talking in a very common sense way from all the skills and the experiences that we have. Some are engineers, some are doctors, some are whatever you are. And we are asking these simple questions. My question is, I would love to RTI the legislature in Maharashtra, the assembly, and ask them, tell me what is your prospective plan? What is your plan for forensics? Tell me. You keep on talking about law and order, law and order. I don't want your secrets. Just tell me if there is another kasab thing. What is your outline plan? And we haven't even asked that basic question. That is how far we are from being active citizens.
Yes.
They know what they are doing. But are they doing it for our benefit? And are we participating in that? That brings me to two other things. Have I got time?
Yeah, please.
That gives me two other things. Diversity. We all agree here that diversity in itself is a good thing. Let's talk about it practically. There are 4%, how many percent women? 4 women.
12%.
12%. That's great
That's only Maharashtra.
because that brings up the national average.
Yes.
I mean, other places they got 3%, 2%, 5%. What do we do about a diversity policy? We have said somewhere from Delhi, there shall be 30% or 33%. 33%, 30% to my feminist view is just a bargaining position. Why should we stick with 30%? Why not 60%? Why not say 51%? Where's the equity of this? Lots of you are lawyers. Where's the equity of this? But we say 33%. Okay, fine. We haven't even got to 30%, haven't even got to 20%. Okay. If you're true about it, is it that we have to tell women, yeah, come on, now you be like a man and then we'll have you? Is that what we are asking for? Or are we saying that your organization, the police establishment, has not created within itself a capability to receive women?
Yes.
Where is your accommodation for women? चाइल्ड के तो दूर की बात है, तुम्हारे पास बाथरूम भी है? So, you know, and we worry about, अरे वो लोग तो गाली गलौज देंगे. The women in Bihar are wonderful at giving गाली गलौज. So I mean, I'm not concerned about that. But what is your policy? Have you put it down somewhere? Is it available to anybody? Have you gone out into the hinterland and asked them, would you like to join the police? This is a country where millions and millions are underemployed or not employed. Are you going to say they don't really want to join? And the last thing I want to say on that, and which was really brought home to me by a police officer who's a very thinking police officer, break down the tasks that the police do every day. 80%, 85 to 90% of them are tasks that any woman with half a mind can do. You don't need your muscles, you don't need to be wearing pants, you don't need anything. You're going to court, you're writing down FIRs, you're doing administrative jobs, you're taking evidence, you're doing your forensic work. There is barely any amount of time that you have to spend on the street unless you're a traffic cop or you're spending it on patrolling. What's wrong? You're patrolling in a Innova or whatever they call it. So you mean to say a woman can't be? Why can't there be 100% women drivers? What is stopping them? Night duty? Okay, let's have 2 women. What's the problem?
To add on to that, in one of my personal experiences when I was talking to a woman constable, she said she was going on a training period. So I asked her, what training are you going for? A woman constable going for training? I was just inquisitive, what are you doing? And she was basically sitting at the dispatch section, filling up inward and outward diaries. So she said, we are going for shooting range practice. I said, why? I mean, that's good, no? Then she's like, what good? I had last held my rifle when I had entered the training academy. After that, there's only a pen in my hand. Since then, nothing has happened. So, like, this, actually I'm telling this is to highlight that they are trained for something that they don't even do on field. They are trained for physical exercises, they are trained for too much of, force, etc., etc. But whereas